Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach for trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. First of all, I believe options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and certainly in the large cap tech stocks that I follow, as well as equity futures, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. ES is a derivative of SPX, and SPY is the ETF version of that index. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the ETF version of that index, and NQ is a derivative of NDX. So again, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NASDAQ futures, NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow on Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow on Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. And hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Good to see you. All right, here's my agenda for today, Monday, March 11th. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, and events for this upcoming week. And then I will go through my positional analysis for today. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today, and then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I'll be glad to do that. All right, so let's get started with news items, economic data, and events for the upcoming week. All right, so beginning tomorrow, one of the big events for the week is the 8:30 a.m. CPI data release, and that should definitely be a market mover. So 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time CPI data, and then at 1 p.m. Eastern Time there's a 10-year note auction. And those note auctions have been market movers in the past. Then on Wednesday, there is a 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. Then on Thursday, PPI data comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Also retail sales at the same time. And then on Friday is the big monthly options expiration. And note that is also that's a very large expiration due to it being a quarterly expiration. So typically, the March, June, September, and December monthly expirations are quite large. That's where a lot of the institutional traders will position themselves. So big options expiration on Friday, call dominated. We'll talk more about that later on in the week. All right, let's move on to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the S&P 500. This is the S&P 500 futures, ES futures in Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to take a look at a larger time frame, and I'm going to go to the underlying index, which again is SPX. So let's start with a one-day chart. This is a one-day chart of SPX in Thinkorswim. Current rally began last year, October 30th, and so far the SPX has rallied up about 1,080 points. So quite a rally from the October 30th low. All right, let's take a look now. So that's a one-day chart. Rally continues with pullbacks. Now let's move to a shorter time frame. This is a 30-day, 1-hour chart. This is showing the top of that trend line that was on the previous chart. During this year, 2024, the SPX call wall has moved up from 4,800 around the beginning of the year up to 5,200 now. So that is bullish. The potential ceiling for price has moved higher and higher as the year has progressed. All right, let's take a look at some levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market. I update this once a week. It's based on the closing price for SPX on Friday. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. Also based on the options market. I update those once a day. That's based on the closing price on Friday. And I post both those numbers. The lower and I post all those numbers in the Options Doug chat channel every evening, the evening before. All right, so it looks like SPX found support right around the lower daily expected move, and that is also the 0 gamma level for SPX. We'll see that more closely on a 1-minute chart in just a minute. All right, the other levels on this chart are Spotgamma levels. These are proprietary Spotgamma levels that are provided to Spotgamma subscribers. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. Note these levels are based on gamma weighted open interest. So first of all, the 5,000 level, that's the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And the next level up is the put wall at 5110. That's just above that 0 gamma level at 5,094. The put wall is a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And note SPX did breach that level earlier today. And that put wall did move pretty substantially higher from Friday. Friday it was at 4,800. Today moved up to 5,110. The next level up is the volatility trigger, the VT. That's at 5145. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure that tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And note that SPX is trading below its volatility trigger. And that level also moved up from Friday. It was at 5,095 on Friday, moved up to, again, 51.45. The next level up is the call wall that I mentioned before. That's at 5,200. That's a strike with a large net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. So potential floor at 51.10, the put wall. Again, that was breached earlier today. And potential ceiling at 5,200. This is not unusual as expiration approaches for these ranges to narrow. I expect them to expand along with volatility next week after expiration. All right, let's move on to Bookmap now. All right, so I mentioned shifts in levels, volatility trigger, put wall, moved higher. All right, so let's move on to Bookmap now. All right, so one of the most important things I want to point out here is that I am currently on the June contract, the M contract, and I rolled over today. So Friday I was looking at the H contract. Today I'm looking at the M contract. All right, so for those of you who may not be familiar with how to roll in Bookmap, let me show you quickly. First of all, and this I've already done this, so I'll just show this. You want to click on the plus sign and you add the instrument. Here I'll go to rhythmic and add an instrument. So I've already done this. I added the ES M4. All right, the next step. So this is a two-step process. The next step, you go to your new contract, right-click, pick chart settings, inherit chart settings from, and I picked the old contract, the March contract, and it moved all the chart settings from my H contract, my March contract, over to the June contract. So very easy two-step process for rolling in Bookmap. All right, in Bookmap I have my own cloud notes. So I can show SPX levels. Here's this 5,094 zero gamma level that I talked about. Acted as support earlier today. 5,100 level, large gamma 2 level, acted as support. That was noted as support in the Spotgamma M Founders Note. And here's the 510 put wall. Price broke below that earlier today, and most recently, just after 1 p.m., acted as support. I also have SPY levels on this chart. And sorry, I thought I'd turn those off. I'll have to mute that site. All right, so here's the SPY 510 level, for example. That's a large gamma 2 level, zero gamma level. All right, there is a difference in price between ES and SPX, and with the new contract, it has widened out substantially. If you recall from Friday, the ES to SPX offset was about 3.5 points. So very close to zero. And that's very typical that offset will converge towards zero as the contract expires. And now it's widened out again. And currently, ES to SPX, ES minus SPX, is somewhere between 65 and 66. And I'm using 65 right now. So it has moved around quite a bit today. So it's moved around quite a bit today, but I'm using as ES to minus SPX equals 65. So the 5110 SPX put wall, I'm showing at ES 5175. And that number will change a little bit every day. It'll get a little bit smaller every day as time passes toward the next contract rollover expiration. And note, I do post the index relationships that I'm using every day in Discord. I post the preliminary numbers around 9 a.m. and then the final numbers around 10 a.m. All right, so those are the levels in play. The most important really is this 0 gamma level acting as support, 5094 acting as support earlier today. And we'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ. So again, I moved over to the June contract, same two-step procedure, subscribed to the M4 contract, inherited my chart settings from the H4 contract. Very easy to do. All right, this is the NQ futures and Bookmap. I do want to step back, take a look at the underlying index charts. I'm going to start with QQQ. This is a 1-minute chart for QQQ. So the dark shaded area is showing the regular trading hours for today. Key level in play for today is the 438 0 gamma level, in this case acting as resistance. And I just forgot to mention for the SP 500, for SPY there was actually a bullish hat trick, bullish. The volatility trigger put wall and call wall moved higher. So right now for SPY the call wall is at 520. So that is bullish for the SP 500. All right, back to NASDAQ now. And for QQQ, there was one shift in level. The volatility trigger shifted lower to 441. So QQQ is trading well below its volatility trigger. And gamma notional at the beginning of the day was negative for QQQ. Let's take a look at NDX. Then we'll get back to Bookmap. Oh, and I forgot to look at the 1-minute chart for SPX. All right, so this is the 1-minute chart for NDX. Key thing, note the reversal. This is Friday morning reversal. Now today, NDX opened up below the 18,000 level, which acted as resistance earlier today. All right, so a little bit fuzzy this Monday. Let's get back to SPX just a minute. Forgot to look at this. So I wanted to show the same thing in SPX. Reversal lower on Friday morning. And today, SPX finding support at the lower daily expected move, also the 0 gamma level, and now finding support right around the put wall. Right, so sorry about that. Sorry about skipping around, jumping around. Again, a little fuzzy this Monday. All right, so this is the back to NQ futures. So again, I have my own cloud notes. Here's that 18,000 level that I just showed on the NDX chart, acting as resistance. And then for NQ, the lower daily expected move shown by that dashed blue line that's just above the 150 level, acting as support. More or less. So again, I'm showing NDX levels, QQQ levels, QQQ 437. That's where right around NASDAQ is trading right now, the 437 level. And for QQQ, here's that 438 0 gamma level. acting as resistance. All right, again, I do post the index relationships that I'm using. So NQ to NDX, that offset also widened out quite a bit for today. I'm currently using 265. NQ minus NDX equal 265. All right, let's wrap up positional analysis. Let's take a look at gamma notional. This is market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. And this will give us a sense of how market makers may react to changes in price and applied volatility. Note, and this is showing gamma notional again at the beginning of the day for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. Note for the S&P 500, these numbers are slightly positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. That indicates that traders are short calls, market makers are long calls, hence the positive gamma, and they have to trade against price. And as we saw, SPX is trading below its volatility trigger today, shifting toward a negative gamma environment. And QQQ again, negative gamma notional at the beginning of the day, indicating traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative gamma. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. All right, let's wrap up by taking a look at the Vanna model. This will give us more clarity about how market makers may react to changes in price and implied volatility. So this is for SPX, the Vanna model. This is plotting market makers' delta notional on the vertical axis, spot price for SPX on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. The first curve is showing how market makers may react, how market makers' delta notional may change to with changes in price only. The purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price and applied volatility. And that's the curve that we want to take a look at. So we know the low of the day for SPX was right around 50.94, somewhere between these two lines on this portion of the Vanna model that is sloping to the left. Give me just a moment. We'll take care of that. All right, back to the Vanna model. So on this portion of this curve, the purple curve, as price is decreasing, so price decreasing, market makers' delta notional is increasing. They want to remain delta neutral, so they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. On the other hand, starting around 10:15 this morning, as price was increasing, market makers and implied volatility was falling. Market makers' delta notional was decreasing. They could buy back their short futures, and that is a put Vanna rally. So market makers trading with price, both directions, down and up. That tends to lead to wider moves, higher volatility, wider trading ranges, better trading if you like to trade volatility. All right, let's take a look at, quickly take a look at QQQ. Even a steeper curve to the left for QQQ, the low of the day was right around 436. Also on this left sloping portion of the Vanna model, indicating market makers would need to trade with prices falling, as well as buy back short futures when price is increasing. All right, so my thesis for the day, I was looking for a little bit higher volatility than than previous days, given the drops lower and gamma notional based on Friday. So these gamma notional numbers compared with Friday all shifted lower, looking for higher volatility based on the shifts in levels, the bullish hat trick for SPY, and the volatility trigger put wall shifting higher for the S&P 500. My thesis for the day, directional bias, was bullish for the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look now at some setups. So let's move on from positional analysis to execution. All right, so everything that we've looked at so far, other than Bookmap, is based on static data that's updated once a day. Some Spotgamma takes open interest data. They apply their algorithms to that data to come up with the levels that we were looking at that I use as the basis for my positional analysis. And now let's move on to execution and real-time data. All right, so what this chart is showing is the HIRO signal. HIRO is Hedging Impact Real-Time Options, HIRO. This is available to Spotgamma subscribers. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. So a rising HIRO signal indicates traders are taking positive delta positions in those instruments. So the purple line is the HIRO signal. The white line is SPX, that's the price for SPX. And then a falling HIRO signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. So positive delta positions, they're buying calls and or selling puts. Negative delta positions, they are buying puts and or selling calls. So we're overall kind of a choppy HIRO signal for the S&P 500. But it is net bullish for today and definitely bullish in the morning. So starting pretty much from the cash open, traders were taking positive delta positions, and then they took their foot off the gas right around 11:05, something like that. And the HIRO signal has flattened out, chopped up and down. All right, let's zoom in just a bit, and I'm going to shift and take a look at what traders were doing with puts and calls. I'm going to have to jump to another signal, then jump back to avoid the auto zoom. All right, so what this is showing is that traders are buying calls and buying puts. The rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. Positive notion of value. Traders buying calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. And the blue line is showing puts. Negative notion of value, they are buying puts. Let's take a closer look at this setup from this morning. So again, traders start, let me zoom in just a little bit. Traders start aggressively buying calls right around 9:50. They're also buying puts right around 10:10. Put buyers take their foot off the gas. So the blue line flattens out. And traders continue to buy calls. And SPX makes a low. It's not showing it here, but that was right around the 5,094 zero gamma level. And the S&P 500 moved higher. All right, so let's go back to Bookmap. Let's zoom in. Give me just a moment to adjust this chart. Alright, first of all, the volume dots here in Bookmap are showing market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Also, the yellow line here is showing stop orders. So this move down was fueled by aggressive sellers up to a certain point. Aggressive buyers start to come in, so that's also shown by the falling cumulative volume delta. Then aggressive buyers start to come in just after 10 a.m. You can see the shift to green volume dots. Aggressive buyers, sell stop orders continue to fuel the move lower. Then as traders start buying calls, they stop buying puts. Aggressive buyers come in, and the S&P 500 moves higher, does a retest of the 0 gamma level. Again, aggressive buyers coming in, rising cumulative volume delta, and price moves higher all the way up to this 5115 level. That's SPX 5115. That was actually noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. In this case, acted as resistance. And note that is the point where the call buyers took their foot off the gas. Let's go back to take a look at the hero signal. Note the slope of the orange line here levels off. Aggressive call buyers up to about 1105. Then they slow down, and price consolidates, moves lower. All right, so there's a long setup in the morning. Hello, Sheena, welcome, glad you're here. All right, so long setup in the SP 500 this morning. Now let's zoom out. So right now, looks like the call signal, they may be starting to sell calls, and they have been pretty much continuously buying puts since about 10:30, 10:45. All right, so that's the SP 500. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, so starting about 11:30, the SP 500 started to rally again, finding support right around the 5100 level. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ. Then we'll take a look at some stocks. Let's see what options traders are doing in NASDAQ. And for the NASDAQ, I typically look at this Mag 7 signal. And it has not been as helpful as usual today. So traders kind of taking a break in the Mag 7 stocks. I'm going to shift back to the total signal. I'm going to jump to NASDAQ. So this was definitely, let's take a look at what these two signals are. All right, so first of all, this NASDAQ signal is a combination of NDX and QQQ options trades. Then the Mag 7 signal that's a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven. Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. So net for the day, options traders are taking negative delta positions in the Mag 7 stocks, and that really started more aggressively right around 10:45. All right, let's zoom in on this. So just looking at this in isolation, not looking at what happened after 11 a.m. This is about the same time that the S&P 500 reversed higher, 10:15. Traders at this point were taking positive delta positions in the Mag 7. Let's go jump to NASDAQ. So NASDAQ signal, it's always a good idea to look at both. Also shifts higher. And that was actually around the same time. Go back to Mag 7. Let's go to Bookmap now. Zoom in. All right, so multiple tests of the lower daily expected move. That's shown by the light blue line there. The NQ 150 label is covering the lower daily expected move. 10:15, traders start taking positive delta positions. Note CVD, cumulative volume delta, is already rising. Also large traders buying with iceberg orders. That's not large size, but the light blue line showing iceberg orders is moving higher. And NASDAQ moves up to the 18,000 level, makes a double top at 18,000, and then aggressive sellers start to come in. You can see all the magenta volume dots starting to come in. Cumulative volume delta shifts lower. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. First one I want to take a look at is AMD. Quite a bit of up and down movement in the morning and then consolidation. Let's take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing in AMD. All right, I'm going to shift back to puts and calls. Jump to AMD. Let's zoom in on this a bit. So right around 10 a.m., actually before, first of all, there's a Hero flow alert indicating significant options activity. And at that time, traders had started buying calls shown by the rising orange line, also selling puts shown by the rising light blue line. When both the blue line and the orange line are moving the same direction, this is a very powerful directional indicator. And for stocks, when traders buy calls and market makers sell the calls, we'll just look at calls. Market makers sell the calls and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And that continues to around 10:55. Call buyers take their foot off the gas, start selling puts. AMD moves lower. All right, so let's go take a look at the long setup from right around 10 a.m. Let's go back to Bookmap, AMD. So here's the long setup. Test of the 197 level and a quick move up to 203. Good for a 5-point move in the course of about an hour. All right, let's go back to Bookmap, go back to Hero. All right, note 200 as the key gamma strike. All right, next stock I want to take a look at is Meta. Let's zoom in. Looking at the morning, 500 is the call wall, key gamma strike. And from the open, traders were selling calls. That's shown by the falling orange line. Note also 480 is the put wall. And Meta did move below the put wall, but eventually found support and started to move higher as traders started to buy calls. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Move on to Meta. This is somewhat the opposite of Meta for the last few weeks, or maybe even few months. Typically, there is a big whoosh higher in Meta as traders are buying calls. In this case, they were selling calls. And a quick reversal to VWAP, shown by the light blue line there, also the 491 level, and price moves down to the 480 level, put wall, and below. Note there was a reversal there, and then Meta moved all the way down to the 476 level before finding support. This is pretty typical of stocks, these levels of high liquidity. They come in just a couple of minutes after the cash open. So this is the heat map and Bookmap showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. Below the price, those are limit buy orders. And note they were consumed. And for a large high price stock like Meta, those buy orders typically come in at the zeros and the fives. So Meta eventually found support somewhere between 475 and the 480 put wall. All right, let's go back to Hero. All right, so after the quick move lower, traders started buying calls as Meta moved below its put wall, bought calls, took their foot off the gas. They were selling puts, also foot off the gas, so no read there in Meta now. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. Actually, let me go back to, so for Meta, NVIDIA, traders are selling calls and also buying puts. Notional value is negative. I'm going to shift to the total signal jump back to NVIDIA. Let's zoom in on the morning. So a couple things to point out. Notice all the flow alerts here. Spotgamma has indicated this large number of flow alerts is indicative of chop. Just looking at this in isolation, just looking at this in the morning, it did shift. Hero did shift bullish just after 10 a.m. and shifted sharply negative around 11. All right, let's go look at Bookmap, and I'm going to zoom out. So looking at this in the larger time frame, and this is the entire day so far, you can see that there is quite a bit of chop in the Hero signal, and this shifts sharply lower just around 11 a.m. But it was bullish from right around 10 to 11. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. Go to NVIDIA. So here's the move higher in NVIDIA Note the rising cumulative volume delta, a lot of aggressive buyers coming in. You can also just tell that from all the green volume dots. And up here at the top, more magenta volume dots start to come in. CVD, cumulative volume delta, levels off as options traders start taking negative delta positions, and now NVIDIA continues to move lower. Good entry points for short if you miss the 885 level. Multiple entry points for short at 875. And let's go take a look at Tesla. Oops. Zoom in on this. All right, so traders may be rotating out of some of the high flyers like NVIDIA and rotating some capital into the other Mag 7 stocks that have not performed as well, like Apple and Tesla. So here's Tesla. Traders taking positive delta positions in the morning. Hero floor alert just a couple of minutes after the cash open. Tesla moves higher. I'm going to shift to puts and calls. Jump back to avoid the auto zoom. So this is showing at 9:34. Traders started aggressively buying calls. Tesla moved higher above the 180 key gamma strike call wall. Then they start selling calls and Tesla moves lower. Then right around 1 p.m. they started buying calls again. All right, let's go take a look at the Bookmap. Go to Tesla. All right, so here's the quick move higher in Tesla in the morning. This is typical of Meta for the last few weeks. Fast move up, traders buying calls, aggressive buyers shown by all the green volume dots. Call buyers take their foot off the gas, aggressive sellers start to come in. CVD starts to flatten out. And now moving higher again as traders started buying calls again. Let's go back to Hero. So from this point on, it really makes sense to look for bullish positions, longs in Tesla, as traders continue to buy calls. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, so no stocks. All right, let's take a look. Let's go back to Bookmap. All right, Bruce has asked me to show some trading features here in Bookmap. So for those of you who may not know, Bookmap is a visualization platform, but it's also a trading platform. For trading you need several things. First of all, you need a subscription to Global Plus. So there are two versions of Bookmap that you can use for stocks and futures, Global and Global Plus. You need Global Plus for trading. All right, the next thing you need is a data feed. And I use DX feed data for stocks and rhythmic data for futures. All right, the next thing you need is a connection to a broker. And right now I'm not connected to any broker. I had an issue. I had been using Interactive Brokers, Traders Workstation, a trial of that, and I had an issue with that today, so I can't connect to it. So I can't show a trade here. But normally I would be able to pick the connection to my broker there. I like to trade on the chart, so I would pick chart. That's what I normally use. You can pick your size. You can pick one of these pre-selected numbers or enter the size that you want to trade. I normally would pick half the size that I want to use, and then if I want to buy, for example, I would click twice over in this area to the right of the solid line. That would give me, if I had picked 100 here, that would give me, and I was filled, that would give me a long of 200 shares. And then I would move around and then I use the bracket here. So I would have a stop loss, take profit, and then I would move the take profit around one lower, one higher, or leave one where it is and then move one higher based on what I see on the chart. So I can drag those around in this area on the chart. And thank you, Stephen, for posting that. All right, so sorry, having an issue with my Interactive Brokers demo account, so I can't show an actual trade. Let's zoom in on this. Tesla, again, remember, traders were buying calls. Gradual uptrend, multiple pullback entries. This is a continuation pattern that is shown in the Bookmap Learning Center. Pullback entries. And Stephen, thank you for posting the link to the packages comparison. So you get a few extras with Global Plus as well. But the key is if you want to trade in Bookmap, you need Global Plus. All right, let me check for questions. Compulsive guy loves Bookmap, trying to understand how you use Hero. On Hero S&P, it seems like I assume that means the ES, are trading below the put wall and purple indicator, puts and calls, seems to suggest a move lower. Am I understanding Hero properly? All right, so let's go back to the S&P 500. All right, so S&P 500 near the highs of the days, the cash session, right around SPY 511. Let's see what options traders are doing. So I'm going to go to the total signal. Let's zoom in a bit. So note that Hero is moving up and down. This is pretty typical of a kind of a mean reverting price action, typical of a more positive gamma environment. But as Compulsive Guy points out, Hero is moving lower, making a series of lower highs. So now the question is, what will the Hero line do? Will it continue to move higher or move lower? So let's go to Bookmap now. All right, so we know that the Hero signal is moving lower. And ES is trading in a pretty narrow range here, the range narrowing down with 511 right in the middle there. Cumulative volume delta is flat. Iceberg's flat. Stops flat. So really the question is, which will it would break out here? All right, so the Hero indicator, let's go back and take a look. Yeah, I'd say it does suggest a move lower, but that's so far has not come into play. Let's take a look at some other, let's see if we can get some correlation by looking at other signals. All right, compulsive guy asked, does it mean anything significant to be below put wall? I would say that it, I believe Spotgamma sees more significance in resistance at a call wall than support at a put wall. But yeah, the put wall stats show that price should find support at that level. Although let's take a look at, let's go back to this indices page. Let's take a look at the absolute gamma for SPX. Oh, we're on QQQ, sorry. Go to SPX. All right, so what this chart is showing is absolute gamma, market maker's position at various strikes. So gamma shown on the vertical axis, strike price shown on the horizontal axis. The orange bars are showing positive gamma or call gamma. Blue bar is showing put gamma or negative gamma. All right, let's find that 5110 level. All right, so there it is, 5110. All right, so you can see there's really not much significance to that level. Most of the put gamma is at 5100 and even more at 5000. This is just, the put wall is actually a mathematical thing. It's basically the blue bar minus the orange bar. So that does not look like a very strong put wall to me. Looks like there's more support right around 5100. All right, so let's go back and look. So price did break below that 5100 level. All right, you're welcome, compulsive guy. Glad you're finding value in my commentary here. All right, so price did move below the put wall, also below the 5100 level. and found support at the 94 zero gamma level, more or less. All right, so right now let's go back to Hero. Go back to the SP 500. So just based on this, I would be looking for a short setup, but I don't see anything. Certainly doesn't look like a short setting up anytime soon. If I were looking for a short, I would look for a break below 51.15. Let's check NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ up near the highs of the day. Looks like some aggressive buyers coming in. Let's go check the MAG 7 signal. All right, so that is starting to move up. Price following. And that is price for QQQ. Let's go back and check Tesla. All right, so for Tesla, the hero signal has leveled off. Let's see if there's anything else that looks bullish or bearish, particularly bullish or bearish. Note one thing, and I've mentioned this before, I find much more clarity in the morning session from the cash open to about noon. That's when I like to trade. In the afternoon, things are not as clear to me. NVIDIA, I'd be looking for a short. That's pretty clear. Let's go to Bookmap. Go to NVIDIA. All right, so we just missed it. Short at 865. It looks like it always moved all the way up to 867. I mentioned before shorts at 875. Trend break 870. Then again at 865 as traders continue to take negative delta positions in NVIDIA, continuing to unwind their long positions in NVIDIA that began last Friday. All right, so this is very clear. Much easier trade than the SP 500. All right, my time is up. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Compulsive Guy, I hope I answered your questions. If not, you can post again in Discord here, and I'll try to answer your questions. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. Remember, CPI data comes out tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Could be a market mover. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye.